So who knew that Sony has a faith-based distribution label called Affirm Films? And they've apparently had it for quite some time. But now they're making a big play with an animated movie called The Star. And just like the Emoji Movie, this has been instantly controversial, which I can understand because I think that for the most part, faith-based films have appealed to a very specific group of Christianity. And yet it seems from some of the promotional artwork I saw of this last week when they were like, the teaser's coming, and that's that they have used ethnicity for the characters from the Bible that is appropriate to the region where those stories took place, but it's not, I'm trying to be really careful here, but it's not how those characters have been traditionally depicted throughout the history of Christianity. You know, it's like the European Jesus versus, as many would say, the realistic Jesus, although the first group would take tremendous offense with the second group's description. So I can see the problem here. So far, it seems 50-50 in who's for and against, and based on what I just described, that would make sense. But you know what? Let's also see if it looks like a good movie. All right, let's take a look. The story of the Nativity is very important, and every time I see the Radio City Christmas Spectacular, great show, they always have the nativity scene. And I think it's really important to remember through all the fun of Christmas, the glitz and glamour, it's so beautiful, but also, you know, what started it, but I think even more so what it stands for, goodwill towards men. And I think the nativity does that. So I hope that this movie does as well. All right, let's take a look.
For centuries, one story has touched the lives of people across the world. This holiday season, you're invited to discover the story of the first Christmas from an entirely new perspective.
Hang on! Cyrus! Jonah!
I expected a left turn 2 deserts ago.
These wise guys are lost. That's it. I'm fighting through the rains.
From the studio that brought you Miracles from Heaven and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
I kind of like this.
Stephen Yun, Keegan-Michael Key, Gina Rodriguez, Zachary Levi, Kelly Clarkson, Patricia Heaton, Kristen Chenoweth, Tyler Perry, Tracy Morgan, and Oprah Winfrey.
King Herod is up to something.
Mary, you're in danger. You need to listen to what I'm about to say extremely carefully.
Do you want a belly rub?
The Star.
You jump out and create a distraction.
Hey! Here it goes!
It's taking a weird turn.
There's something seriously wrong with those animals.
Joseph sounds a lot like Eugene from Tangled, because it's the same guy. Also, the quality of the animation doesn't look like a theatrical release. And also, you could see when Joseph spoke at the end there, his lips didn't really go with his voice. So I think I would think that would be like one of the first things you should make sure you can do when you decide to make a theatrical released animated film. I don't think you need to inject all that animal drama into the Bible. I think the Bible's a pretty thrilling tale all by itself, as evidenced by the fact that it's still popular all these years later. It reminds me actually of The Prince of Egypt. Such a good animated movie. We've talked about it a couple of times, and I know whenever I mention it, a number of you also get excited. It has a tremendous rewatchability factor. It really holds up. I saw it again like maybe a year or so ago, and I was like, damn, still excellent. One of DreamWorks Animation's very first movies. Wasn't successful, though, so much at the box office, which is why they stopped making animated Bible movies. But anyway, and also I think they tried to have the correct ethnicity there, too, and nobody seemed as offended as they seem here. Maybe, I don't know. I'm curious. If you are offended by this, what offends you? The depiction of Mary and Joseph? or the fact that these animals are on some sort of caper with the Bible as a backdrop to said caper. So, I mean, I liked it when it was just like the simple story of the Bible with like a little bit of comedy injected from the animals. Like, I thought the camels in the beginning, like the wise men being lost, I thought that was funny. I liked that. But then this whole other thing about like, Mary and Joseph, the donkey they know tried to save them. And you're like, what? That's ridiculous. I think, you know, and I'm sure there are some of you who are like, the whole Bible's ridiculous. Because, you know, today everybody has very distinct opinions about religion and no qualms about discussing them disrespectfully. You know, we should be respectful of all religions, even if, you know, even those that you do not partake in. And I don't know, is this movie a little bit disrespectful? I'm not sure. I mean, I always find the Bible very interesting because, you know, they have evidence that some of the things that are depicted in the Bible actually happened, but the scope, because, you know, it was limited because of no technology, like, you know, the whole thing about the flood with Noah. There was a flood at that time, didn't cover the whole earth, but I'm sure it seemed that way at the time to the people who were in the midst of it. So the whole thing I find fascinating, and again, I think the messages of the Bible, of course, are very important, and I think they can stand on their own. They don't need a caper added to them to make them better. So I feel like, to me, so far, this seems like a missed opportunity. I think an animated movie about the very first Christmas and then the Nativity would have been fabulous, would have been really nice, and to introduce maybe some kids who think the Bible isn't as exciting as, you know, others would hope they do, this would be a great introduction. But now I'd be like, you know, you don't want kids being like, the Bible seems to have left out the funniest part about the donkey. And you're like, no, Sony added that. So what do you think? Both if you're religious, both if you're not religious, I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts about this down below. And let's try to be respectful. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in, and you can check out some more videos right now.